خلاص
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our session. Before we get into today's lecture and today's activities and discussions, I would like to review what we did at the last session. We'll start with that review. We talked about the importance of program outcomes, and then we talked about how the course outcomes flow from the program outcomes. We mentioned that there are outcome sources that come from you, your knowledge of the field and practice as an expert, that come from other universities and colleagues at those other universities, from how the field is being advanced through scholarship and practice, how you learn about what's changing from conferences and workshops and seminars that you attend in your field. All of that contributes to the outcomes you develop, either for your program or your courses. We reviewed course outcome standards. That was the second thing we did. We looked at Bloom's taxonomy as a way to write clear learning outcomes that are SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. We considered a curriculum development approach that enabled us to develop quality curriculum. And we said we have to analyze the outcome information to create these outcomes, and that the learning outcomes, whether they're at the course level or program level or at activity and assignment level, these outcomes really guide us in terms of the content that we create or that we require, the activities and assignments we provide for our learners, and ultimately the outcomes provide us with direction on the choice of assessment methodologies that we use. Finally, we talked about assessment methods for courses, for activities, and I should say assessment and evaluation methods. How do we evaluate learners to know that they're learning? And how do we use those that evaluation material for assessment purposes? That's what we discussed. Some of you requested to see a course to see how does the course outcomes flow to the activities and assignments. And so I did pull up a course, one that I taught recently, on performance improvement. And I would like to start us there before we get into our discussion of teaching effectiveness, which actually we began that conversation yesterday as well. But we're going to talk about teaching effectiveness from a holistic standpoint. How does the institution support effective teaching and learning? Because learning is the other side of that coin. And I'm going to explain how effective teaching is just one factor that contributes to student learning. Just one factor. So let us begin by looking at a course. I pulled up a course that I taught recently in our Franklin University, our Blue Core Learning Management System. I'm going to make this as big as I can for our colleagues in the other room so they can see this. Pull it up. So in the course, there's a syllabus. And at Franklin University, one of the examples of evidence that we have is we want to make sure that we're providing support to the learner. Clear instructions on what they should know and be able to do to succeed in the class. And so our syllabus, the components of our syllabus include the course overview, the course materials, an explanation of what students are responsible for doing in that class, our academic policies. Student support services can be linked to within the structure of the course. And then our grading policy, how we evaluate them, our policy for grading and student evaluation. So, if I'm correct, within the structure of the course overview, I'm going to click on this.
Excuse me.
Yes, question.
You mean course syllabus or course specification for these items?
This, what this represents is the course syllabus.
Courses
Yes,
includes these items.
includes all of these items.
So, what is the difference between course syllabus and course specification?
They probably, in our mind, are probably one and the same. Course syllabus and all of the specifications for the course are for us included in what we call the course syllabus.
For us, the concept is different.
So, yeah, so you have a course syllabus and a course specification.
It is a course specification. The course syllabus contains all these items within the course.
Okay. So for the sake of our conversation today, what I'm presenting to you represents perhaps both the course syllabus and the course specifications. And in the course syllabus for us, we include a description of the course learning outcomes. And so here, this course is called Principles of Human Performance Technology. And in this class, this is a graduate course. It has prerequisites. When we talk about learner support today, one of the things that we have to assure is that learners who go into any course are adequately prepared for that course. That is a criteria for many accrediting bodies. How do you demonstrate that students are adequately prepared for their courses? It's actually expressed in a different way, but that's the essence of the issue. So one of the things that we indicate in this part of the course syllabus is a course description. What are you going to do in this course? You're going to learn a framework for understanding human performance. You're going to work with scenarios and case studies. You're going to analyze performance problems. You see, a lot of the higher level Bloom's taxonomy is described in the course description. This is what you're going to do. And then we tell you what the outcomes of the course are. In this case, upon successful completion of this course, students will be able to analyze performance problems. I can measure that. They will be able to recommend appropriate interventions to solve performance problems. We are actually going to be doing that today as a group. We're going to look at situations based on assessment data, and collectively we're going to decide what is the cause of this problem and how might we solve it given the assessment data we have. And remember, we are assessing teaching, we're assessing learning, and we're assessing courses. We're systematic about it. We're going to apply performance interventions to a performance problem. We're going to identify the implications of performance solutions to organizations and businesses at different levels: organization, process, individual. So, if we analyze performance problems, there should be an activity in the course that allows students to do that, right? You would assume that there were activities in the course that allow for the students to analyze performance problems. So let's go back to the course. and see if we're giving people the opportunity to analyze performance problems. So, in this course, during week 1, students are engaged in case study situation analysis. They're involved in case study organizational analysis. So, analyze performance problems. There are activities that are aligned with it. So, if I click on that activity, I wonder if the outcomes of the activity align with that broader expectation of analyzed performance problems. So the activity gives the student an overview of what a situational analysis is and the parts of a situation analysis. Analyze the need, the work environment, the target audience, the resources required, if there is a sponsor, the performance improvement goal. If there is a performance problem, what really is the goal? And measures of success. The purpose of this assignment is to assess how well you compose a situational analysis based on a case study. So it sort of links to the idea if you're going to analyze performance problems, here's the activity and its purpose that's linked to that particular outcome. Let me stop there and see if there are any questions. Course outcomes should inform the kinds of activities and assignments you provide to students and can give you direction in terms of clarity for those assignments. Ultimately, it should translate into some way of evaluating learners. And so, for this assignment, there is a grading criteria, a rubric, that any faculty member teaching this course would use. Let's see if we can pull it up. Okay, here it is. So for this situational analysis, the faculty have agreed, the faculty who teach this course, me and this other person, it was just 2 of us, we agree that we want them to have an accurately described statement of the problem. We want them to have evidence of the problem itself and describe accurately the evidence that indicates that there is a performance problem. I'm going to skip through all of this, but performance improvement goal. The student described the goal of the performance improvement effort, including the benefits or changes to the individual that will occur if the goal is achieved. So we let the students know in advance that this is the criteria we're using to evaluate you on this situational analysis. And then we've assigned points to it. Now, so the criteria is relevancy, accuracy, and depth. Those are 3 criteria for this assignment. It's relevant, it's accurate, and it's depth. And we evaluate the students on those criteria. Now, that's his evaluation. From an assessment standpoint, I might not use this activity for assessment. What I might use for assessment is their final product. In their final product, I may have a criteria that says it's relevant, it's accurate, and there's sufficient depth of this on this final product that may include this project. The analysis is only one phase of a bigger project where they have to come up with solution strategies, proposals, etc. That project is probably robust enough to do a program assessment. And our graduates know how to do this work. And so I would pull a team together to review the final assignments based on the relevance, accuracy, and depth of those projects.